The Galactic Council Hall stood high above the silver clouds of ViewerShip, the shining capital of the United Galactic Alliance. The building itself was a masterpiece. Glass walls that shimmered with light from 3 suns, a ceiling so vast it looked like the sky itself had been captured inside. Delegates from 1,000 different worlds filled the hall, their colors, shapes, and languages blending into a living ocean of sound. It was the most important meeting of the decade, the Summit of Unity, where every starfaring race gathered to decide the fate of the galaxy's newest discoveries. Yet today, the atmosphere was different. There was tension in the air. Even the loudest races, like the booming Valrock or the hissing Zorathi, spoke in low tones. Something strange had appeared beyond the rim of known space. An unknown vessel, massive, silent, and unlike anything the Council had ever seen. It had arrived without warning, without a known warp signature, and it was moving directly toward ViewerShip. High Chancellor Ilyara of the Seraph Dominion stood at the center podium. Her long silver robe shimmered softly as she raised a delicate hand. The room grew quiet. "Delegates," she began in her calm, melodic voice. "Our deep space sensors have confirmed the arrival of an unidentified ship. It has not responded to any hails. Its technology is beyond known classification. It does not match any known star nation's design. And," she paused, looking around the room, "it is coming from a sector that was once considered barren." There was a murmur of concern. A delegate with blue scales from the Kothar Empire hissed, "Which sector, Chancellor?" Ilyara's eyes shifted to the holographic map floating before her. A section of space blinked into view, a small spiral arm on the edge of the galaxy labeled Sol System. Gasps filled the room. A dozen species spoke at once. Even the calm and ancient races stirred. The Sol System was well known in old records, but only as a primitive world, a planet called Earth, where a young species called humans had once lived. They were supposed to be gone, destroyed in their own wars centuries ago. "That cannot be right," said Delegate Fortan of the Zorathi Dominion, his voice echoing like a hiss of acid. "Humans never achieved interstellar flight. They never joined the Council. They vanished before they could even reach their own moon colonies." "Perhaps the readings are wrong," muttered another. "No one has visited that system in ages." But the map did not lie. The ship's trajectory was clear. It had come straight from Sol. The room fell into uneasy silence. Then, from the shadows at the edge of the council floor, a deep, mechanical voice spoke. "Show us the image," the hollow shifted. A projection of the ship appeared, dark gray, triangular, enormous. Its design was sharp and cold, unlike the flowing organic shapes of other races' vessels. The hull shimmered faintly, marked with faint blue lights that pulsed like a heartbeat. And at the center of the ship, near its bridge, was an emblem, a circle with lines crossing through it. Some recognized it immediately, the ancient insignia of the United Nations of Earth. The silence that followed was complete. No one even dared breathe. After several seconds, a small and timid delegate, a furry being from the Olan species, whispered, "Humans. They survived?" Chancellor Ilyara stared at the symbol, her eyes narrowing. "Not only survived," she said softly, "it seems they have returned." Far beyond the council hall, above the glittering city of ViewerShip, the mysterious ship had entered orbit. The planetary defense systems had activated automatically, surrounding the world with glowing energy grids and swarms of interceptor drones. But the human ship made no move to attack. It simply hung there, massive and silent, like a watchful eye in the dark. Inside the ship, the command bridge was calm. Humans moved with quiet precision. Their uniforms were black and silver, their insignias minimal. Captain Elias Grant stood at the front window, hands clasped behind his back. He was a tall man, with steady gray eyes and the kind of patience that came from long years in deep space. "Status report," he said calmly. A young officer replied, "Orbit stable, sir. No hostile actions detected. Council defenses are holding, but they haven't fired. They're watching us." "Good," said Grant. "Let them watch. Send no signals yet. Let the silence speak first." He turned to face the crew. "They remember us as extinct. Let's remind them we are not." The bridge fell silent again, filled only with the hum of the ship's power core. The human vessel, UNS Valiant, was the first of its kind, a ship built in the deep reaches of space, far from the eyes of the galaxy. For centuries, humanity had been forgotten, thought to have perished in the chaos of their own wars. But in the hidden colonies beyond the outer rim, they had survived, rebuilt, and grown strong. They had watched the galaxy from afar, learning, listening, waiting. And now, after so many generations, they had decided to reveal themselves. Back at the Council, chaos had erupted again. Many races demanded immediate military action. Others urged caution. "This could be a trap," said Admiral Zethar of the Drun Coalition, his massive claws tapping the table. "No primitive race could leap from destruction to this level of power. This must be someone else, pirates, or perhaps a machine race using human symbols." "Do you think we are so easy to fool?" countered Councillor Tiran, whose crystalline body glowed faintly with emotion. "The markings are ancient. The language is from old Earth. I studied it when I was young." "There is no mistake." Ilyara raised her hand again. "Enough, we will send an envoy. If these are truly humans, we must know their purpose." A voice from the upper gallery interrupted. "And if their purpose is conquest?" It was the Valrock ambassador, his voice deep and thunderous. "They were a violent species, known for wars even among themselves. Their history speaks of fire and destruction. What if they have returned to claim vengeance?" The question hung heavy in the air. Even Ilyara did not answer immediately. History did remember humanity. Their courage, yes, but also their chaos. They were a species that burned bright, always reaching, always fighting, never giving up, even when they should have fallen. Finally, she spoke. "Then we shall see what they have become." On the bridge of the UNS Valiant, Captain Grant received the incoming message. It was cautious, polite, but unmistakably nervous. The Galactic Council wished to open communication. Grant smiled faintly. "So they're ready to talk." He looked at the view of Varelian Prime, a jewel of a world, its cities glowing like stars beneath the planet's soft blue atmosphere. "Open a channel," he ordered, "and transmit this message." The officer nodded, recording his words. "To the Galactic Council," Grant said, his voice calm and steady. "We come in peace. We come as the children of Earth, once forgotten, now returned. Humanity seeks no war, no conquest. We come to stand among the stars as equals." He paused, then added quietly, "and to remind the galaxy that we endure." The message was sent. Across the council hall, as the translation came through in 100 languages, every delegate fell silent once again. The tone was peaceful, but beneath the calm words was something else. Strength, confidence, and a quiet power that made even the oldest civilizations uneasy. The humans had returned, and they were no longer the fragile race the galaxy had once known. The message from humanity spread through the Galactic Council like a quiet storm. Every communication hub, every news relay, and every major world received it within hours. "We come in peace. We come as the children of Earth." Simple words, yet they carried a weight the galaxy had not felt in centuries. In the grand hall of the council, confusion turned to unease. Delegates spoke over one another, each voice rising higher than the last. Some demanded that the ship be destroyed before it could act. Others pleaded for caution, warning that a single mistake could start a war unlike any before. High Chancellor Ilyara stood at the center, calm among the noise. "Enough," she said firmly, her voice amplified by the hall's acoustic fields. "We will not answer fear with aggression. We shall meet them, properly." "But Chancellor," hissed Admiral Zethar, his scaled body glinting in the light, "we know nothing of their weapons. That ship's energy readings surpass even the Drunwar dreadnoughts." "Which is why we will not provoke them," Ilyara replied. "If humanity truly wishes peace, we must give them a chance to prove it." Her decision was final. The Council would send an envoy to meet the humans face to face. 3 hours later, the Council envoy ship Ardent Grace lifted off from Varelian Prime and began its cautious ascent toward orbit. It was a graceful vessel of crystal and silver, shaped like a wing in motion. On board were representatives of 5 major races, each chosen to represent the Council's unity. At the heart of the ship sat the envoy leader, Ambassador Tiran of the crystalline Solari. His body glowed faintly like starlight passing through glass. Around him sat the others, Admiral Zethar of the Drun Coalition, the gentle Olin diplomat Mira, the the Valrock warrior delegate Cortan, and the silent Seraph observer Lyra. Together, they formed the first contact team. Their ship glided toward the silent human vessel, the UNS Valiant, which hovered still and unmoving. Its hull reflected the distant light of the suns like dark water. No weapons were visible, but the energy readings around it were immense. As they approached, the Valiant's communication channel opened automatically. A human voice spoke through the translator system, clear and calm. "This is Captain Elias Grant of the United Nations Starship Valiant. Welcome, representatives of the Galactic Council. You are cleared for docking." The envoy exchanged nervous glances. Admiral Zethar muttered under his breath, "They sound too calm." The ardent grace slowly aligned with the docking port. When the magnetic clamps engaged, the council team stepped into a long corridor bathed in soft blue light. The air was clean with a faint metallic scent. Human soldiers stood at attention along the passage, not threatening but firm. Their faces were calm, their posture straight. At the end of the corridor waited Captain Grant. He greeted them with a polite nod. "Welcome aboard the Valiant." Ambassador Tiran studied him closely. Grant appeared ordinary for a human. Tall, gray-eyed, dressed in a uniform of black and silver. But there was something in his eyes, a quiet confidence that unsettled even the bold Valrock warrior. "We thank you for receiving us," Tiran said, his crystalline voice resonating gently. "The Galactic Council wishes to understand your purpose here. The galaxy remembers humanity as gone." Grant smiled faintly. Reports of our extinction were exaggerated. His tone was calm, even friendly, yet his words carried an undeniable edge, the kind of strength that came only from survival against impossible odds. The group followed Grant through the ship. The corridors were simple but strong, every line purposeful. The technology looked unfamiliar yet efficient, a blend of practicality and quiet brilliance. They passed a large viewing window, and through it the stars stretched endlessly. The humans had named this place the Deep Horizon, the region where no known star nations dared to settle. "You have come far," said Mira, the Olin diplomat softly, her voice filled with curiosity. "How did your people survive?" "The last records show that Earth fell to disaster and war." Grant's expression darkened slightly. "It was true. We nearly destroyed ourselves. But we learned and we rebuilt, in silence. When the old world burned, the survivors took to the void. We found new homes beyond the edge of known space. For centuries we grew. We watched, Admiral Zethar repeated sharply. "You mean you have been observing the rest of the galaxy?" "Yes," said Grant. "We studied you. The wars, the alliances, the rise and fall of empires. We learned from your mistakes and from our own." His words carried no arrogance, only calm certainty. The aliens exchanged uncertain glances. Lyra, the quiet Seraph observer, spoke for the first time. "Then why reveal yourselves now? After all these years?" Grant stopped walking and looked out the window at the shining planet below. "Because the galaxy is changing. Shadows are growing at its edge. Threats you haven't seen yet. We decided it was time." There was something in his voice that made even the boldest among them silent. The meeting room of the Valiant was large and circular, with soft lighting and a long table of dark metal. When the delegates sat, Captain Grant began the official dialogue. "Humanity seeks recognition as a sovereign civilization," he said. "We do not ask for favors or protection. Only equality, not in peace." Ambassador Tiran leaned forward slightly. "Equality is a noble word, Captain. But the Council must be cautious. Many species once claimed peace, yet brought only chaos." Grant nodded. "Understandable. Words are easy. Actions matter more. We came here openly, unarmed toward your world. We did not strike, even when your defenses aimed at us. That is our first action." Cortan, the Valrock warrior, gave a low growl of approval. His species respected strength and restraint equally. "Perhaps your people are not as soft as the stories said." Grant looked at him calmly. "We never were." The conversation continued for hours. The humans spoke of their colonies beyond the rim, self-sufficient worlds, vast shipyards hidden among nebulae, and fleets built not for conquest, but for protection. They described their unity, not perfect but firm. Humanity had become something the galaxy did not expect, patient, disciplined, and prepared. When the meeting finally ended, Tiran rose. "Captain Grant, we thank you. We will bring your words to the council. But understand, not all will welcome you. Some will fear your return. Grant smiled slightly. Fear is natural. We felt it too when we first looked up at the stars. As the envoy departed, he added quietly, "But we are done hiding." Back on Varelian Prime, the council hall once again filled with light and noise. Ambassador Tyrann's report was played before every delegate. The reaction was divided. Some were impressed, others alarmed. "The humans have grown too strong," argued the Kothar representative. "If they have fleets hidden beyond the rim, who can stop them?" "They spoke of peace," said Mira. "They did not threaten us." "Yet they carry power that could break worlds," countered another. High Chancellor Ilyara listened in silence. Her thoughts were heavy. Humanity's return was both a promise and a warning. Their calmness, their silence, their quiet strength, it all spoke of something deeper. At last she stood. "The humans are not the same as the species in our history books. They have changed, perhaps more than we can understand. The Council will form a committee to study their proposal. Until then, their ship will remain under observation." Her words settled the hall, but not the unease. Far above, on the UNS Valiant, Captain Grant stood once more before the great viewing window. Below, the lights of the alien capital shimmered like tiny stars. His first officer, Commander Reyes, stepped beside him. "Do you think they'll accept us, sir?" Grant smiled faintly. "In time. But acceptance is not our goal. Then what is?" Grant looked out at the endless expanse of stars. "To remind them that humanity still has a place among them, and to prepare for what's coming." Reyes frowned. "You mean the threats you mentioned in the meeting?" Grant nodded slowly. "Something stirs in the dark beyond the spiral arm. We've seen the signals. The others haven't, not yet. When it reaches them, they'll need allies. Whether they trust us or not, they'll need us." He turned from the window, his gray eyes calm and steady. "And when that day comes, they'll remember that humanity returned. Not in anger, but in strength." Weeks passed after the humans' first contact, yet the galaxy could not stop talking about them. Every news network replayed Captain Grant's calm words. Every world debated the meaning of humanity's return. Some called them heroes, survivors who had overcome the impossible. Others whispered darker theories, that humans had become something else in their long exile, something dangerous. On Varelian Prime, the Galactic Council remained divided. The Committee of Inquiry met daily to discuss reports from observers stationed near the human ship, the UNS Valiant. The humans behaved politely and never provoked any species, but their technology continued to puzzle everyone. Energy readings from their engines defied explanation. Even the most advanced Council scientist could not understand how their small ship contained such power. Chancellor Ilyara sat in her private office overlooking the glowing city below. The towers of glass and light reached toward the sky, yet for the first time in her life she felt small beneath them. The galaxy had just learned that it was not the only center of progress. Far beyond in the forgotten dark, humanity had risen again. Her assistant, a thin creature of blue scales, entered quietly. "Chancellor, the human captain requests a private meeting." "He says it is urgent," Ilyara turned. "Captain Grant here?" "Yes, Chancellor. His ship has sent a shuttle request." He comes unarmed. That surprised her. Most leaders sent envoys or diplomats for delicate matters, but Grant was coming himself. "Approve the landing," she said softly, "and prepare the security detail." The shuttle from the UNS Valiant descended like a silent arrow through Varelian's clouds. When it landed on the Council's central platform, Captain Elias Grant stepped out alone. He wore the same black and silver uniform, his posture straight, his expression calm. Chancellor Ilyara greeted him personally. "Captain Grant, your visit was unexpected." "Forgive the suddenness," Grant replied with a polite nod. "But there are things we must discuss, things your council should know." They walked through the long marble corridor toward her private chamber. The walls shimmered with holograms showing scenes of peace, galaxies, stars, and oceans. But Grant's eyes were distant, focused elsewhere. When the doors closed behind them, Ilyara gestured for him to sit. "Please, speak freely." Grant placed a small device on the table. A projection appeared. Dark space filled with faint glowing dots. "These," he said, "are transmission signals recorded along the outer edge of your known territories. Your sensors might not detect them, but ours can." Ilyara leaned forward. What are they? Distress calls, Grant answered. And not from humans. We believe they belong to vanished colonies of other species. Worlds that went dark centuries ago. Something is happening out there, Chancellor. Something large. The hologram shifted again, showing blurred images. Massive dark shapes moving through space. Their outlines were strange, almost organic. Our deep space probes found wreckage, Grant continued. Ships torn apart. Stations destroyed. We recovered fragments of material we couldn't identify. It's not natural. It's not machine either. It's something in between, Ilyara frowned. You're saying a new power is rising beyond the rim? Grant nodded slowly. Not rising, spreading. These things consume everything they touch. Our colonies have seen them before, on the far edge of human space. They move like a plague, silent, patient, unstoppable. We call them the Phantoms. The word hung heavy in the air. What do they want? Ilyara asked quietly. Grant met her gaze. We don't know if they want anything. They simply move from system to system, leaving silence behind. We lost entire fleets trying to stop them. Ilyara felt a chill run through her. And now you believe they are coming here? Yes, Grant said firmly. Your worlds are next. Back in orbit, the UNS Valiant stood ready. Commander Reyes had received updates from the exploration ships patrolling the outer sectors. Every report confirmed the same thing. Unknown entities moving closer to inhabited systems. When Grant returned to the bridge, Reyes saluted. Sir, confirmation from the scout ship Horizon. Another colony world has gone dark. Grant's jaw tightened. How far? 6 light-years beyond the border of Council space. Grant stared at the star map, his mind calculating. They'll reach the nearest system within a month. Reyes hesitated. Do we warn the Council openly? We already did, said Grant. But they won't believe us until they see the threat themselves. He looked out at the stars. We'll have to show them proof. On VeRelian-Prime, the Council gathered again. The air was thick with disbelief as Chancellor Ilyara presented Grant's evidence. Holograms filled the air, recordings of wrecked stations, faint echoes of lost signals and blurred shadows moving through the void. Admiral Zethar crossed his arms. How do we know these are not human tricks? To frighten us into alliance? Grant remained calm. Because if they were tricks, we wouldn't be losing our own ships to them, the Council murmured nervously. Some believed him. Others did not. Tyran, the crystalline ambassador who had first met the humans, stood. Chancellor, if this danger is real, we cannot afford division. We must act together. But the Valrock delegate roared in disagreement. Or perhaps this is humanity's plan. They appear, speak of monsters, and then offer to protect us so that they may rule us instead. Ilyara raised her hand to silence the uproar. Enough, this fear will not help us. We will investigate these claims ourselves. She turned to Grant. Captain, would you allow a joint expedition? Human and Council ships working together? Grant nodded. That's exactly what I hoped for. Days later, a small fleet departed VeRelian space. 3 Council cruisers and the UNS Valiant. They traveled toward the border systems where the signals had been detected. For most of the journey, the stars shone peacefully. The Council officers gradually began to relax, doubting the humans' warnings. But as they entered the dark sector known as Theta Expanse, the calm ended. Multiple energy signatures, called a human sensor officer. Non-standard readings ahead. Visual range in 10 seconds, Commander Reyes said. On the main screen, a dead planet appeared, gray and silent. Around it floated the remains of a destroyed outpost. The metal was twisted as if melted by great heat. No life signs. No distress beacons. Then came a low pulse through the comm systems. Not sound, but a strange vibration that made even the electronics hum. What is that? Asked the Council captain nervously. Grant frowned. They're here. From the shadows beyond the planet, shapes began to move, long and dark like living ships. Their surfaces shifted like liquid metal, glowing faintly with eerie blue veins. Contact. Unknown vessels approaching fast, shouted Reyes. Defensive formations, Grant commanded. The Council ships scrambled, activating shields. The alien vessels closed in silently. No visible engines, no heat signatures. When they opened fire, it wasn't with beams or missiles. It was with waves of pure distortion that bent space itself. One Council cruiser was hit directly. Its hull shimmered, then simply vanished into dust. Return fire. yelled the drone captain. Beams of plasma lanced out, striking the strange ships. But the shots passed through them like water through mist. Grant's voice cut through the panic. Target their cores. The energy readings near the center. Use resonance rounds. The Valiant's cannons fired, sleek blue projectiles that pulsed mid-flight. They struck one of the alien vessels, and for the first time it faltered. Its body twisted, collapsed inward, and dissolved into fragments. Cheers broke out on the human bridge. They can be hurt, Reyes shouted. Then let's remind them who we are, Grant said firmly. The Valiant moved like lightning through the debris field, its engines flaring white. For every alien ship destroyed, 2 more appeared. The battle raged for hours. Finally, when the last Phantom vessel withdrew into the dark, silence filled the void once more. After the battle, the surviving Council ships regrouped. They had lost 1 cruiser, but the rest survived, thanks mostly to the humans' tactics. The aliens left behind fragments of strange material, which the scientists quickly began to study. On the bridge, Grant stared at the wreckage. That was only a scouting force, he said quietly. The main swarm is still coming. Commander Reyes nodded grimly. The Council has seen the truth now. Maybe they'll finally listen. Grant looked out at the stars. They'll have to, because soon the galaxy won't have a choice. Back on ViewRship, the Council chambers were silent as the battle footage played. Every delegate watched as the alien ships tore through fleets that had stood for centuries. And then they saw the humans, fighting with skill, courage, and unity. When the recording ended, no one spoke. Finally, Chancellor Ilyara rose. The shadows beyond the rim are real. The humans warned us, and they fought for us. She turned to the assembly, her voice strong. From this day, the United Galactic Council recognizes the sovereign worlds of Earth as an equal member, and as allies. The decision passed without a single objection. High above the world, aboard the UNS Valiant, Captain Grant received the message. He allowed himself a small smile. Reyes looked at him. So they finally believe us? Yes, Grant said. And just in time. He looked once more toward the distant stars where the shadows were gathering again. The first battle is over, he said quietly. But the real war has just begun. The aftermath of the battle in the Theta Expanse sent ripples across the galaxy. The Galactic Council, once divided and suspicious of humanity, now saw a new truth. The shadows beyond the rim were real, and humans had the knowledge, strategy, and courage to face them. Yet the threat was far from over. Chancellor Ilyara convened an emergency session in the Grand Council Hall. Every major race sent representatives, including those who had previously doubted humanity's return. The room was alive with color and sound, a living testament to the galaxy's diversity. But beneath it lay tension, the quiet unease of species realizing that their home was no longer safe. Delegates, Ilyara began, her voice firm and clear. The humans have shown us what lies beyond the known sectors. The shadows are growing, and they will not wait for us to prepare. We must form a united force, an alliance of light, to stand against them. Murmurs ran through the hall. The idea of a combined fleet had always been a dream, often discussed but never realized. Rivalries, pride, and centuries of history had kept the galaxy divided. Now faced with a common enemy, the Council had no choice. Grant was present in the hall, standing among the human delegates. His posture was calm, his gray eyes observing every reaction. He said nothing, allowing the Council to deliberate. Finally, Ambassador Tiran of the Solari spoke. His crystalline form glimmered in the hall's lights. We must act together. Humans have returned not to dominate, but to warn. If we refuse unity, we will fall one by one. Cortan of the Valrock, who had once voiced doubt, now nodded. Then we fight together. But we will need clear command, or our fleets will clash more than the enemy. Ilyara turned to Grant. Captain, your people have the experience, the knowledge, and the ships. Will you lead this alliance? Grant's expression remained calm. I will not command your fleets, he said carefully. Each species has its strengths, its own ways of fighting. I can advise, coordinate, and train, but the alliance must be a partnership, not a hierarchy, the Council agreed. And so, the Alliance of Light was born. A coalition of the galaxy's strongest fleets, led not by one race but by cooperation, guided by human strategy. Training and preparation began immediately. The UNS Valiant became the center of the Alliance's operations. Human officers taught the Council captains the techniques that had allowed humanity to survive and thrive in isolation: rapid response maneuvers, precision strikes, and coordinated fleet formations. The alien fleets were initially skeptical. Some had long relied on sheer firepower and intimidation. Others were slow to trust human judgment. But as simulations progressed, even the most stubborn commanders had to admit that the humans' strategies were both innovative and effective. Admiral Zethar of the Drun Coalition grumbled often, but even he could not deny the results. "These humans," he muttered one evening on the Valiant's bridge, watching holograms of fleet movements. "They think differently, faster, smarter." Grant merely nodded. "Experience teaches you to adapt. The galaxy moves in patterns. You only need to see them." Commander Reyes, standing beside him, added, "And sometimes you need patience." Humanity waited centuries for the right moment. They did not act in anger. They acted in wisdom. Grant's eyes were already distant, focused on the dark regions beyond the Alliance's borders. "Patience is only useful if we survive to act," he said quietly. Weeks of preparation passed. Ships were upgraded, crews were trained, and the Alliance became a unified force. Communication lines were established across sectors, and rapid response teams were stationed along the outer rim. Humanity shared secret jump routes, hidden colonies, and sensor networks built over centuries, resources unknown to the rest of the galaxy. Despite progress, unease lingered. The Phantoms, as Grant called them, had not attacked yet. Their silence was more terrifying than combat. Every sensor reading, every faint transmission hinted at a vast intelligence moving slowly but purposefully across the void. One evening, aboard the Valiant, Grant stood on the observation deck, looking out at a cluster of stars. Commander Reyes approached. "They've been quiet for weeks. Are we ready?" Grant did not respond immediately. His gaze remained fixed on the dark void. "Ready?" he finally said. "Perhaps. But this is not about readiness. It's about resolve. The Phantoms will test every fleet, every world. They will find weakness wherever it exists. And we cannot allow weakness," Reyes shivered. "And if we fail?" Grant's gray eyes met his. "Then the galaxy will remember what humans warned, and wish they had listened sooner." The first coordinated patrol began at dawn. Fleets of Council and human ships moved like a shining river through the stars. The Valiant led the formation, scanning, observing, and guiding the younger captains. As the patrol moved further into the dark rim, the sensor readings shifted. Shadows flickered in space, faint distortions against the background stars. "Visual confirmation," said a human officer. "Multiple objects moving at sublight speeds. They are not warp-capable, but their velocity is high." Admiral Zethar growled. "This is no scouting party. This is a hunting formation," Grant nodded. "They test, they learn, they adapt. Watch their movement. Notice the patterns. And be ready, thus they will strike where we are weakest." Minutes later, the Phantoms revealed themselves. Ships unlike anything in the galaxy emerged from the darkness, long, fluid-like forms that shifted constantly. Their hulls reflected no light, and their energy fields warped reality around them. The Alliance formation tightened. Beams fired, shields flared, and the first engagement began. Council captains acted instinctively, but Grant's commands provided the edge. Human fleets moved in unpredictable patterns, splitting and regrouping, drawing the Phantoms into traps. A single Drun cruiser was torn apart early in the fight, a reminder of the stakes. But human tactics minimized casualties elsewhere. The Valiant moved through the battlefield like a ghost, striking at critical points, guiding Allied fleets with precision. Hours of battle followed. The Phantoms were relentless, adaptive, and terrifyingly intelligent. Every time the Alliance found a weak point, the enemy adjusted. "Captain," Commander Reyes shouted over the comms, "they're learning from us." Grant's calm voice cut through the chaos. "Then we change faster than they can. Anticipate, adapt, repeat. This is survival." Holoscreens displayed a complex pattern of fleet movements. Grant's mind worked like a machine, calculating angles, speeds, and trajectories simultaneously. Every human officer followed his cues, executing maneuvers perfected over generations of training. The Alliance began to gain the upper hand. One by one, Phantom ships faltered under coordinated strikes. Energy pulses from the humans disrupted their core structures, and alien captains adapted quickly under Grant's guidance. Finally, the largest of the phantoms retreated into the darkness, leaving the battlefield silent once more. Fleets regrouped, assessing damage and casualties. The victory was small but significant. It proved that the phantoms could be fought, and that the Alliance under human guidance could survive even the deadliest threats. Back on Varelian Prime, the news of the battle spread quickly. The galaxy had a new image of humanity, not as a primitive species, not as a curiosity, but as leaders, survivors, and teachers. Fear slowly turned into respect. Chancellor Ilyara stood before the council once more. The humans have shown us that cooperation works. Their strategy saved countless lives today. We must continue this alliance, strengthen it, and learn from one another. The shadows beyond the rim are not defeated, but together we have a chance. Grant's message was simple: unity, patience, and courage. Lessons that the galaxy had long forgotten. On the Valiant, Grant and Reyes stood side by side. "The first wave is over," Reyes said. Grant looked at the stars beyond the ship's viewport. "It is never truly over. But today we taught the galaxy that humanity is not to be underestimated." Reyes nodded. "And tomorrow?" Grant's eyes remained on the distant darkness. "Tomorrow we prepare. Because the shadows will return, and when they do, we will be ready, not alone, but together." For the first time in generations, humans and aliens alike felt a shared hope. The Alliance of Light was no longer just an idea. It was real, and it was strong. The galaxy had begun to remember humanity, not as a vanished species, but as a force of courage, wisdom, and endurance. The galaxy was tense. Weeks of preparation had passed since the first encounter with the Phantoms. Every system along the outer rim was on high alert. Fleets moved in coordinated formations, planetary defenses were fully activated, and communication lines were constant. A fragile sense of confidence had taken root, but every captain, every commander, knew it was temporary. The Phantoms were intelligent, relentless, and patient. Humanity and the Alliance had learned to fight them, but the main swarm had not yet appeared. Captain Elias Grant stood on the bridge of the UNS Valiant, staring out into the void beyond the fleet. Commander Reyes joined him, his face tense. "They've been quiet for days," Reyes said. "Too quiet. Are we ready?" Grant's gray eyes remained fixed on the stars. "Quiet doesn't mean safe. The Phantoms wait, they calculate. Every shadow hides intent. Today we test them." Far beyond the fleet, deep in the uncharted darkness of the Theta Expanse, the Phantoms stirred. Thousands of the dark, fluid-like vessels moved in perfect synchrony. They had learned from previous encounters. Their adaptive intelligence was unmatched. Yet even they had not anticipated the speed at which humanity had united the galaxy. A ripple of energy pulsed through the Phantoms' formation. Though they had destroyed fleets before, the humans and their allies were different. They were organized, clever, and most importantly, resilient. The swarm advanced, testing defenses along the edge of the Alliance's territories. The first signs of attack were subtle, slight distortions in space, faint energy pulses that disrupted sensor readings, and small fleets vanishing without a trace. Alarm sirens echoed across the Alliance ships. Grant activated the Valiant's command interface. "All ships, battle stations. Focus on perimeter defenses. Keep communication lines open. This is the moment we've trained for." Reyes checked the tactical displays. "Captain, multiple waves approaching." "They're larger than last time." Grant nodded. "Then we strike harder. Remember, anticipate, adapt, survive." The battle began in earnest. Phantoms emerged from the shadows in formations designed to confuse and divide. Their strange bodies twisted and shifted, creating illusions that forced even the most experienced captains to pause. But the Alliance had learned. Human tactics combined with alien technology created a web of coordinated strikes. Council cruisers fired synchronized plasma beams, while human ships used resonance disruptors to destabilize Phantom cores. Admiral Zethar of the Drun Coalition roared with approval as his fleet executed maneuvers he had once thought impossible. "By the claws of my ancestors, these humans are incredible." Grant's calm voice echoed through the fleet's comms. "Maintain formation. Focus fire on clusters. Adapt your shields to their energy pulses. Do not waste time on shadows. Strike the heart." The humans moved like shadows themselves, fast, precise, and fearless. Even the Phantoms, with all their intelligence, struggled to keep up. Hours passed. The battle raged across a vast expanse of space. Explosions of light and energy illuminated the darkness as the fleets engaged the swarm. Human officers coordinated attacks, providing instructions that unified alien fleets that had never fought together before. One by one, Phantom vessels faltered under precise human strikes. Entire clusters collapsed when human and alien ships focused their fire, yet the swarm continued to advance, relentless in its hunger. During a tense moment, a council cruiser was caught in a wave of phantom energy distortion. The ship began to dissolve. Before it could vanish completely, the Valiant intercepted, firing a series of high-energy resonance beams that shattered the attacking Phantom, saving hundreds of lives. Reyes exhaled in relief. That was too close, Grant nodded. Every life saved counts. That is how wars are won. One decision, one maneuver at a time. The Phantoms, sensing losses, adjusted their tactics. They split into smaller formations, attempting to flank and overwhelm the Alliance. Many captains panicked, but human officers provided real-time guidance. Vector adjustments. Shields up by 20%. Fire on my mark, Grant commanded. The Alliance responded instantly. The combined fleets adapted faster than the Phantoms expected. They executed intricate maneuvers surrounding clusters of the enemy and traps. Explosions lit the void as entire groups of Phantoms were destroyed simultaneously. Even Corton of the Valrock admitted aloud, "I have never seen anything like this." Humanity fights as one, but with others at their side. Grant's calm, steady leadership turned fear into courage. Council captains began to rely on the humans, trusting their strategies. Slowly, the tide of battle shifted. As the main Phantom swarm neared the heart of the Alliance fleet, Grant made a critical decision. All units converge on their center. Target the largest vessel. It controls the swarm's coordination. The Valiant led the strike, weaving through the battlefield with unmatched precision. Human tactics forced the Phantoms into disadvantageous positions, exposing vulnerabilities in their organic cores. One by one, the largest vessels were destroyed, severing control over the swarm. The remaining Phantoms, confused and disoriented, began retreating into the dark reaches of space. Their once relentless advance faltered, and the Alliance had the opportunity to counterattack. Admiral Zethar let out a victorious roar. "By all that is claw and fire, we have done it." Grant did not celebrate yet. "We have won a battle," he said quietly. "But the war is not over. The Phantoms will return and we must be ready." The aftermath of the battle revealed the scale of the victory. Hundreds of Phantom vessels were destroyed. Thousands of lives were saved thanks to humanity's guidance. The Council fleets, once divided by pride and suspicion, had fought as one. The Alliance of Light had proven its strength. Chancellor Ilyara addressed the Council and the galaxy. "Today, humanity showed us the power of cooperation, courage, and wisdom. We were prepared to fight separately, and we would have failed. But united, we prevailed. Humanity has returned not as conquerors, but as teachers and allies. We owe them a debt of gratitude." The hall erupted in approval. Delegates who had doubted humanity now bowed to respect and admiration. Aboard the Valiant, Grant allowed himself a moment of quiet satisfaction. The fleet had survived, the galaxy was safer, and the Alliance had learned to work together. Yet he knew that vigilance was necessary. Reyes approached. "Captain, the Council hails you. They want to know if humanity will stay in their space." Grant shook his head. "Our job is not to occupy. We are guardians, not rulers. Humanity's place is among the stars, alongside all species, not above them. Do you think they'll understand?" "They will," Grant replied. "They have seen what we are capable of. They have seen what we fight for. And they will remember. Humanity returns not in anger, but in strength and wisdom." As the Valiant moved away from the battlefield, the stars stretched endlessly before them. The Phantoms had been driven back, but their presence lingered in the minds of all who had fought. Humanity had reminded the galaxy that survival required more than power. It required courage, strategy, and the willingness to stand together. Grant stood on the observation deck, looking out at the stars. "The Phantoms are out there," he said softly. "But so are we, and so are our allies. The galaxy will not face them alone." Reyes smiled. "Then we have hope." Grant nodded. "Yes, hope and preparation. That is what makes humanity strong." The stars ahead seemed brighter than before. And for the first time in centuries, humans and aliens alike felt a renewed sense of unity. The Alliance of Light had been forged in battle, and the galaxy had learned an unforgettable lesson: never underestimate humanity. With that, the UNS Valiant led the fleet into the unknown, ready for whatever challenges lay beyond the rim. The galaxy had been reminded of a simple truth. When humans returned, they returned with courage, wisdom, and a determination that could not be ignored. And so, humanity's legend continued, not as a vanished species but as a shining force among the stars.